I just signed up to Selena Gomez's email list, and this is the very first welcome email that they sent me. In this video, I'm actually going to show you how this can be improved, and I'm even going to be redesigning this email so it makes the most sales as possible, and I'm going to do it live in Figma so you can follow along with me. So diving into this email, firstly, we've got a very clean hero section, which is nice, and then we go to this personal message from Selena Gomez herself, and then we've got the first CTA button, we've got the discount code, we've got a few product pics, and then it jumps straight into some features. So we've got free shipping, free returns, and then the actual footer of the email. So now there's a lot of things wrong with this email, which I'm going to cover. The first thing is that there is no CTA above the fold. Nowadays, everyone uses their mobile phones to check emails. So if you're not optimizing your emails for mobile, then you're going to miss out on a lot of revenue. And this is a clear example. So by not having any CTA or any offer above the fold, the customer does not see any value when they open the email. This is all that they see. And it doesn't actually provide any value to the customer. Next, we have this hard section transition. So we've got the picture of Selena Gomez, and then it cuts to the message, and there's no real transition or any sort of nice graphics in between. So that's something else that we're going to improve. Another thing is that this first CTA button is actually too buried. So like I said, this CTA button should be at the top in the hero section above the fold. And then same thing with the discount code. You're sending this email to optimize for sales and to get people to convert. You can't do that when the discount code and the CTA button is buried underneath your hero section. It should be at the very top of your email inside the hero section. So that's something else that we're going to fix in the redesign. Another thing is the product selection looks a bit too dull, and that's just my opinion based on my experience in design. So we're going to fix that. And then this email actually includes prices of the products. Now, if you're in e-commerce, when you're running sales, when logistic changes happen, or whether your manufacturing changes, your product prices are going to change. That's inevitable. So you don't want to have hard-coded product prices in your actual emails. So what we're going to do is remove these prices, and we're actually going to include a clickable button. So right now there is no button that I can visually see to click on and go onto the product pages. So we must add a CTA for each of these products. And then lastly, we've got the footer. The footer does not have any sort of links to go back to the store if the customer wanted to view all products or view specific category, etc. So we're going to add that too. So just for reference, real quick, this is what the finished product looks like side by side with the old email. As you can see, I've moved the CTA button and offer to the top of the email, and I've cleaned up a bit of the notes section from Selena Gomez, and then I've made the CTA a bit more apparent, and then I've also included a zigzag pattern for the products to make it look a bit more exciting, and then we've completely redesigned the footer section, and we've added those CTA links to drive the customer back to the store. So for now, I'm going to hide the design that I just made so we can actually start from scratch and you can actually see how I build this out live within Figma. So the first thing we do is we start with our frame for the email. So to make a frame, what I'm going to do is just go to the bottom and use the frame tool. And our emails should always be 600 in width, pixels in width. So that's what I'm going to select. And then the first thing we're going to build out is the hero section. So to make this easy for us, what we're going to do first is find the image of Selena and then find the image of the Rare Beauty logo. Now, in order to actually find this hero email, I'm going to just literally take a screenshot of this, put it into Google image search, and hopefully it should return similar images. So I'm going to use the snipping tool and just take a snip out of this image. And then we're going to go into Google and just search this image up. So as you can see, the image search has returned a load of images. And so I'm just going to view all the images. And as you can see, this one looks really good. It's got a lot of space for us for the hero section. So we're going to select this long one and I'm going to open that in a new tab. We're going to go back to Figma and paste that. And we're going to just drag that inside into our frame. What we're going to do is just make this frame very long so that it fits our entire email. And then this image right here, we're going to resize so that it is the same width as our frame, which is 600 pixels. And then I'm going to drag this right to the top. There we go. Now we've got the main hero image, which is looking good. Now we need the actual company logo. So I'm going to go into Google. And this logo isn't transparent. So what we're going to do is go to a background remover tool, which will get rid of the background for us, which is very convenient. So now that we've got rid of the background, we'll paste this in. And right now it's in a different color. We want it to be white. So what we're going to do is use a plugin in Figma called color overlay. And what this will do is we'll just overlay the existing image with any color we select. So I'm going to colorize it to white, and there we go. So now let's bring this at the top, make sure it's centered, and let's also bring this line in. So what I want to do for the line tool is just use a simple rectangle tool and make the height of it 1 pixel. And we're just going to move that to the top and center it within the frame. And that is starting to look good. I'm going to increase the height of it just to 2 pixels to see that looks better. Another thing that we're going to do is, instead of having the logo separate and the Welcome to Rare Beauty by Selena Gomez separate, we're just going to condense that into one message at the top. So I'm going to add some text, which is going to say welcome to, and we're going to use the same font that Selena uses in her website. And this font is called OGG. So we'll just put this next to that, resize this to make it the same. Now that we've resized it, let's put them side by side. Let's group them, and then we can then center the group. And right now it's a bit too big for my liking, so I'm just going to make the whole group smaller. And I'm going to move it slightly upwards. And then underneath this, I'm going to add by Selena Gomez. And for this, I'm going to select pop-ins. I'm going to reduce the size of this to about here. And then I'm just going to put that under there. What I'm also actually going to do is increase the letter spacing. And I'm going to change that back to 1, I think. I think I'm happy with that initial logo section. I think I can now move on to the main one, which is the offer. And in order to get the offer, what I'm going to do is scroll back into the original email, see that it says it's got a 10% offer for your first £30. So I'll just simply write, here's 10% off your first order over £30. And let's center all of this. And we'll make this bigger as well. So the hero section is coming along nicely. We have the main brand logo, we have the welcome message, and we have the offer. Now we need to add the discount code and call to action button. So I'm just going to move this up to make space for that. And then we'll use a rectangle to create the button, just as they've used a rectangle for their buttons here. Good to make that transparent fill and add a white stroke to it. Center that button and then add some text in. I'm going to use the same font as we did from the top, and it's going to say claim discount. I'm going to do claim my discount. Now that the call to action button is added, we're going to add the discount code. So now I've added the discount code, and as you can see, I've actually changed the discount code from what it was before. First, it was this random mixture of characters which a customer is never going to remember, and especially because this is an image email, they won't be able to copy this, so they'll have to actually manually type in, and that just creates more friction in the buying process. So what we want to do is give a very simple discount code for them to use, and so I've just chosen welcome 10, and they can easily just use that at checkout. So I'm very happy with the hero section so far. Now let's move on to the next section. So the next section is the actual letter from Selena Gomez. But before we get into that, let's actually make the transition a bit smoother between this image and the actual white background. So for that, we're just going to use a simple linear gradient. So I'm going to create a rectangle and apply a white gradient to it. Now I've added the gradient to it. You can see it's a much more smoother transition, which is what we were going for. So now let's get all this text into here. And so for this, I'm not going to spend my time actually manually typing out. We're going to use the help of some AI tools. So I'm just going to take another snippet of this, and we're going to use Gemini to actually extract the text and paste this text in, or this image in, and say extract the text. And as you can see, it beautifully extracts the text for me. I can now copy that, go back to Figma, and paste that in. So I'm just going to copy the old text over that we had. Let's bring it down here, and let's bring it outside of the group. And let's give it a black color. And then we can use this text box to paste our message in. And for this text, I'm actually going to bring the horizontal spacing back to 0, so it just looks more natural. And I'm going to increase the font size so we can better read this. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split this text up into 2 paragraphs so that it's easier to read. So now that we've got the text in, I'm just going to do a bit of formatting to make it look good. So as you can see, this is formatted nicely, and I've even added a short little heading saying from Selena, so it draws more attention and it doesn't look like just a random piece of text. Now let's add the signature and call to action button. For this signature, I'm just going to use this one, and we're just going to copy and paste. And just so that this signature matches with the background, I'm actually going to change the background color. And to do this, we need to change the color of the frame. So we'll change the color of the frame to match this color right here, which is a very subtle yellow. And I'm just going to move this up. And so next we have is the CTA. For the CTA, I'm just going to drag over our previous CTA so that we don't have to remake components. And I'm actually going to give it a purple fill. So now I've added the CTA button, and as you can see, we've got a nicely designed hero section and bridge section with 2 CTAs this time compared to the 1 CTA which was before. So next we can move on to the product section, and we're just going to go to the website and grab 3 images of the products. So I'm just going to cut to that. So now I have all the images inside. What I'm going to do is create that zigzag pattern that I showed you earlier. So now I've put all the images into the email, and I've created that zigzag pattern from earlier to just give it a bit of more pizzazz and not make it dull like this with just a grid of product images. So time to add the titles and CTA. So I've now created the product section. What is next to do is put this free shipping and returns information on the email as well. So now I've got the text in there for the free shipping and returns. I'm just going to create a nice separator in the middle using a rectangle, and hopefully this will make it look a lot more better and sleek. And we're going to give it a height of the same size roughly as the text. And the color is purple again. And that is looking really good. We can now move on to the next section, which is the Instagram shout out. So here it says, share your rare beauty love. So tag us on Instagram at rare beauty. So that's what we're going to add. And just to change it up a bit and have some separation between the rest of the email and the footer, we're going to put this in a purple background. I keep saying purple, but I actually mean magenta. So just bear with me. So I'll put the rectangle in. Now we're just going to use the text from the previous section and going to put it over the rectangle so we can actually see it. Make the text white and put all the text we need, which is share your rare beauty love. And let's center this. And another thing that they've done, which I like, is change the font for some of the words. As you can see, I've done the same with the word free, and I'm going to do the exact same here. So the word your is in a different font, just to give it a bit more pizzazz. And then we have the last line, which is tag us on Instagram. So tag us on Instagram at Rare Beauty. And this one I'm going to change to Poppins. I'm going to make this a lot smaller and increase the letter spacing, so even smaller than this. Now we can finally move on to the footer. And for the footer, what I'm going to do is, and now we can finally move on to the footer. So the plan for the footer is to have some call to action buttons going to the different sections on the website. And then we're going to have some social icons, just like these ones. And then we're going to finish off with just a logo. A pretty simple footer. One thing I will mention before I continue with the footer is that I forgot to put a title in the product section. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy a title from somewhere else, go to the product section and just add this shop by category. And I'm going to rename that to again, so in order to create the CTA buttons, I'm not going to create them from scratch. I'm just going to copy over from a section that we've already made. There we go. And this one, I'm just going to make sure it is the correct size. So we're going to duplicate that 4 times. We're going to group them, and then we're going to center them, move them up slightly, and that is looking good. Personally, I want them to be a bit longer to fit more of the page. So what we're going to do is just resize all of them, and that is looking good. And just again, personal preference, I want the center gap just to be slightly smaller, and there we go. And what I'm actually going to do now is change 3 of them into a different style. So one button pops out more than the rest, and that button is going to be shop all. So I'm going to keep the shop all button, this magenta color, and the rest I'm going to change them into an outline. So we're going to remove the fill. We're going to add a stroke to this button, and the stroke is going to be this color. And again, we need to change the color of the text to match, and it's going to look something like that. So I'm just going to repeat this process for all of them. So we're going to go to the website now to check what categories they have. And as you can see, they've got face, eye, and lip. And then we can have the third one as just shop all. So now let's change this to face, eye, and lip. And now lastly, we can include the social icons. And I'm just going to copy them from this email right here. So again, we're going to use the snipping tool to copy and paste this over. And underneath the social icons, we're going to have a little text saying unsubscribe, and then we're going to finish out with the Rare Beauty logo. So first I'm going to find the actual Rare Beauty logo from Google. So here is the circle logo. So we're going to copy that. Again, what we're going to do is remove the background. And I'm going to paste that in there, resize it. And there's a logo. And now lastly, and I've said lastly 5 times, but this should be the last thing, which is just to add the unsubscribe text. So I'm going to say, if you don't want to receive these emails anymore, you can leave the community by pressing unsubscribe. There we go. And we don't really want this piece of text to be popping in front of people's faces. So we're going to resize this to make it a lot smaller, like that. It's going to make that look like it's a link. And this should be handled by your email software, so you don't really need to do this in Figma. But just for the sake of a complete looking email, I'm just going to add that in. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the finished product. I'm just going to do some minor tweaks. And there you have it, guys. This is the final side-by-side of the emails, where you've got my Rare Beauty email on the right-hand side, and you've got the old welcome email on the left-hand side. And if we just scroll side by side, as you can see, each section is a massive improvement on the welcome email. And there's much more opportunities for the customer to go to the product pages or go to any part of the website again, because we've got so much more CTAs, and we've just got much more nicer looking product section and hero section. So if we look at the design I showed you right at the beginning of the email, which was my original redesign, as you can see, it is pretty close to what I showed you, except for in the redesign that I did before this video, I've left a bit more space everywhere. And this is just because I've spent a lot more time on this version, and so I've polished it a lot more. But as you can see, they're pretty much the same email, just sizing differences. So that's it for this video. If you've enjoyed and if you like this type of video, please leave a like and a comment on which brand you want me to do next. And if you're an e-commerce brand and you need help with your emails, all my links will be in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.